Fear as fuel. This is just a reflection on an older journey that I had years and years ago, not too long ago, just a couple of years ago. An article I wrote about fear as my fuel, a journey into adventure and growth. Fear is universal. It touches every part of our lives, shaping the choices we make and the paths we take. See, for many people, fear feels like a wall, stopping progress and stalling dreams, creating hesitation. But what if fear isn't the enemy? What if it's the guide we've been waiting for? What if it is pointing us toward the things that matter most? For much of my life, I believed fear was something to overcome, something to fight or push aside. Now, I see it completely different. It's not a barrier. It's a guide. It calls us into the unknown, urging us to grow and to become. See, fear and excitement, or fear and thrill, once opposites in my mind, now feel like the same force. They both carry the weight of anticipation. They both demand courage. They both offer the promise of strength, beauty, and adventure on the other side of what used to be discomfort. This change didn't happen by accident. It came through a process of stepping into fear rather than avoiding it, of letting it shape me rather than paralyze me. See, fear doesn't shrink my world. It no longer has that type of power. No, fear expands my world. It is the spark, the impetus that pushes me to discover, the tension that births growth. And through this, I've uncovered simple yet powerful ways to transform fear from a roadblock into fuel for the journey ahead. A couple of the mindsets that I've really uncovered and that I like to teach others is, well, let's just talk about 6 of them. The first one is forge clarity and conquer resistance. See, we have to learn to master the art of identifying and reframing the blocks inside of us so that we can gain clarity that becomes unstoppable. The first step in turning fear into fuel was learning to recognize fear and just name it. I had to ask myself what seemed like tough questions. What am I really trying to avoid? Why does this feel so hard? Often the fear wasn't about the moment itself. It was tied to some imagined outcome or some story that I'd been carrying around for years. And fear doesn't show up randomly. It's there to point us towards something worth facing. I begin to see fear not as an immovable wall, but like I said, as a signpost, as a compass. When I ask myself, what proof do I have that this fear is real? I often found none. Just noise, just a loud and incessant, persistent, but hollow voice. By reframing it, I could tell myself, this is no danger at all. This is opportunity. This isn't a stop, it's a doorway. Naming the fear gave me clarity. Reframing it gave me power. The second mind shift is decide, do, dominate. See, this is transforming intention into action with clear, logical, reasonable, practical steps. Fear thrives and grows in hesitation. I spent too much time stuck in my head, overthinking and running endless scenarios. This over-analysis paralysis, as people like to say, became a thing a thing that I hid behind, a place where fear could grow unchecked. Now keep in mind, all of this is unconscious. It happens without our knowledge. See, change came when I stopped wrestling with the possibilities and made simple, direct decisions. I focused on clear steps. I'm going to do this today. I will take this action now. These steps replaced the vague plans. See, I committed to specifics. Action doesn't leave room for fear to linger. It builds momentum. And without momentum, fear burns. The third mind shift is this: power over the pause. See, override hesitation and act right then boldly when resistance arises. This is something that's not easy at first, because even after deciding to act, hesitation would just creep in. Doubts whispered, "You're not ready. It's not the right time. What about so-and-so? What about such and such?" Well, I learned to override those thoughts by creating triggers for action, small but powerful signals that reminded me the time is now. A deep breath, a word spoken aloud, or even snapping my fingers became the push I needed. I discovered that readiness comes after action, not before. Every time I stepped forward, despite hesitation or trepidation, I strengthened my ability to trust myself. Fear no longer dictated my steps, boldness did. The fourth mindset shift was harnessing discomfort so that it could fuel growth. Reframing the challenges as tools for transformation and moving forward with resilience is really what this is all about. Fear and discomfort go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. I used to think that discomfort meant that I'd failed, that I was doing something wrong, that I wasn't valuable, that I was nothing. But now I see it as a sign of growth. Growth doesn't happen in the easy, familiar spaces. It lives on the other side of the challenge, see? On the other side of the mountain, on the other side of the sea. When discomfort came, I learned to lean into it. I reminded myself, oh my goodness, this is hard because it matters. Controlled breathing, honestly, helped me stay centered. More than that, I accepted that discomfort was part of the process and not just part of an essential element of success. The more I moved through it, the more I saw the truth. Discomfort is fleeting, but growth is everlasting. The fifth mindset: finish strong, be done, always. Cultivate integrity by completing everything that you start. Don't wait, don't stop, don't slow down. See, I used to leave things unfinished. Conversations, projects, decisions, because finishing meant facing fear. Sometimes finishing meant facing failure. But I've learned that unresolved tasks weigh heavier than the fear itself. Leaving things incomplete keeps fear alive. It's like a life support system, and it's foolish. Finishing shuts it down. Every time I followed through, I built trust in myself. I became someone who finished what I started, and the habit of completion reinforced my confidence to take on even bigger challenges. Each closed loop strengthened me for the next. Isn't that really what it's all about? Closing the loop. Well, what's next? Mindset shift number 6 is that consistency breeds identity. You can reinforce your true self by repeating small, deliberate actions. Small things that may seem like incredibly huge mountains will roll under your feet like level ground. Over time, action became more than just something I did. No, it became who I am. Each step I took reinforced my identity as someone who moves forward. Small, consistent actions have a way of defining us. They aren't flashy. They're not dramatic. They don't get or garner any attention. No accolades, no praise, no honor, no glory. But they build a foundation for transformation. See, I am someone who acts with courage. I am someone who steps into fear rather than running from it. These truths are not things that I believe. They are things that I live. They are ontologically me. And every small step I take brings me closer to who I want to be. The beauty of this journey is that fear no longer defines me. It actually doesn't even exist. It doesn't hold me back or shrink my world. I say often that fear is my fuel, but now when I see something that most people would call fear, I say there is food. For my drive, for my purpose, for my intention, for my energy, let's go. It doesn't shrink my world. It's become a guide, a sign that I am on the edge of something meaningful. When fear shows up, fuel, I don't see it as an obstacle. It's a challenge, a clear call to grow. Imagine what your life would look like if you stopped running, if you stopped hiding from fear and started running toward it. What challenges could you face? What adventures could you step into? I'm here to tell you that it is possible, not just for me, but for you. If you're ready to turn fear into fuel, let's take this step together. The path forward is waiting, and so am I. Just hit me up. Fear is no longer fear when you're free. Are you listening?